If you ever had trouble with addictions and found it difficult to overcome them, watch this video to the end. Through the grace of God and hopefully through my experience, you'll be able to overcome your addictions. Now, it's something I didn't talk about very much in part 1 of this series, and I should have, because I feel as though there's a form of an addiction that is plaguing not only America, but is plaguing the youth. And I feel it doesn't get talked about enough. It's one of those subtle beasts in the garden, so to speak. That addiction is gambling. Now, it's something that plagued me in the past. And now, as you can see with the accessibility of things like sports gambling, it makes it so easy, and so many people and so many kids nowadays are getting hooked, or young adults. I'm not going to say kids, I'm going to say young adults. And I found it fascinating that there are different contributing factors that add to someone's addiction. So if you can identify these contributing factors and not only identify them, but somehow kind of play little tricks on your own mind in overcoming them, well, you can conquer addiction. And this is what I've done to conquer the addictions that I have. And we talked about part of it in part 1. Part of it was replacing the addiction with something else, with being addicted to something that's positive and or good for us. Meaning, when it comes to cigarettes, replacing it with eating healthy. When it comes to, drinking, replacing it with working out. And all of these things give the body the experience. I talked about the couple that would do nothing but run marathons. And people think, like, my goodness, who would want to run a marathon, especially if after they run a marathon, they start to throw up? Well, who would want to drink all weekend and constantly get drunk? Especially after getting drunk all weekend, you make poor decisions and throw up. At least the running does something for you positively, physically, even if you might be throwing up from the running or from the marathon that you're in right then and there. Now, me, I'm not a marathon runner. I'm not against it, though. And I feel as though if you could find something to switch your addictions to, and regardless of what your addiction be, then you can overcome them. But let's identify the things that really hook us. Now, one thing that doesn't get talked about that I believe that hooks us is well, let me think about it now, because, it's very possible that this could actually be the most strongest hook of them all. Yes, it is actually, and I'm going to switch it. Originally, I had this as part number 2, but I'm going to put this as number 1, and that is winning. Yes, the only reason why people get hooked to gambling is because they win. If you placed a bet in any form of gambling, whether it be sports betting, stock market, which isn't in itself gambling, but can definitely become gambling, whether it's the casinos or the lottery, you don't get addicted to it until you win. And in fact, it's that winning or that instant gratification, which is the main contributing factor, which hooks you in. And they say that you chase that high, but I don't think so. I don't think you're chasing that high anymore, because that high is that high, and after you experience it, you're experiencing it. It's actually a different high that you chase, but I'm not going to get into that right yet. Remember, watch to the end, and we'll get into the high that everybody's chasing when it comes to gambling and when it comes to addictions in general. Now, that winning has an emotional attachment to it. We like that feeling. And so if you've never won, like I've never won big in sports betting, then, I never got addicted to it. In fact, I've lost so much in sports betting that I just have no desire. I see no value in it. So it's the winning that makes you see an initial value in it. How is so? Well, let's say you put $50 down on a team to win or to do whatever they do. That $50 gains you $2,000. Great, congratulations. In a matter of moments, you've gotten a week's salary or a week's paycheck, and you feel good about yourself, but you shouldn't. The reason why you feel good about yourself is because under normal circumstances, you do something which is something else that's plagued people, which is working hourly, trading your time for your money. So being as though you've done nothing but trade your time in for your money, you look at, wow, I just got back a week of my time, or however long it takes you to gain $2,000. And then immediately you start to think about all of the stuff that you can do. You're not thinking about reinvesting that money, are you? You might be thinking about retrading it if you got it in the options market or the stock market, and a quick trade, or you might be thinking about parlaying it if it's in sports betting or casino betting, or getting more lottery tickets. Yes, it's the winning that is one of the initial strongest hooks. And the only way to avoid winning is by not playing. Now, one thing, the lottery has the biggest fear of loss technique. And if you look at sales, if anybody's been in sales, and you'll hear me talk about it, fear of loss is a technique that's used by salespeople to reel people in. But I've never seen it done better than the lottery advertisements, which is you can't win if you don't play. No, that's actually, got to reword that for what it actually is. Like, you can't lose if you don't play. If you don't play the lottery, you'll never lose the lottery, and you'll never lose any money. But if you play the lottery and you win, oh, you'll lose a ton of money. Sounds kind of weird, but if I play a four-digit lottery number and put $1 on it, and that dollar gets me back 5,000, that win right there is what hooked me, and that win right there is what got me. And so I got to really reconsider whether or not I even want to play, because the truth of the matter is, if you don't play, you can't lose. Now, what other contributing factors besides winning reels us in? It's the accessibility. Not only how easy it is for us to get to the gambling, but the people that we're associating with in the gambling world. Yes, in every form of gambling, whether it be the sports betting, whether it be the stock market, whether it be the casinos or the lottery, you have groups of people who kind of group together and talk about the things that they've done. This right here makes it easy for you to accept any minor losses that you have, because you feel comforted that other people have lost more than you. But also, it gets you constantly talking about something, and the mind attracts that which the mind dwells upon. So, how accessible is it? Do you have all of these apps on your phone? Are you constantly watching the sports games? There's no reason for me to watch. Like, I'm a big Eagles fan, right? I'm from Philly, West Philly, born and raised. I like the Eagles. I like the Sixers, the Flyers, and the Phillies. But I don't have to watch another game for the rest of my life, because at the end of the day, me watching that game is not going to make me rich, especially when I'm not a sports bettor. Now, you might say, well, you do bet sports. You might say that you are a sports gambler, and that's fine. But is it going to get you rich? It might get you a couple of dollars here and there, but it's the continuous playing the game that really reels you in. So the best thing I've discovered, that with things that are very accessible to me, the best thing that I could do is just turn away from them. So if you have these apps on your phone, delete them. Delete, the DraftKings or the Prize Picks, and stop watching. When you see the commercial come on, just turn the channel. Because they always advertising why you should do that, and at the same time, hypocritically at the bottom saying, if you have a problem, call this number. They don't want you calling a number. They want you to have a problem. How else are they going to make money unless you have a problem? If they can't instill a problem in you, then how can you get to be a customer? Yes, the people who have the problem are the customers. Same with the lottery. They tell you it's up to $1 billion right now. And then you say, maybe I'll just give it a shot. And then you play it, forgetting about what happens to the majority of people who win the lottery. We all know that there's nothing positive. Some people wind up on top, and that's great. And you think you could be one of them because you hear their story. But, I mean, like I said, being as though you've done nothing but trade your time for money, a lot of you have, you don't quite see the value in the money you've gotten very quickly. So it's about how accessible these things are to you. So with the lottery, it's available to every 7-Eleven, every corner store. So maybe avoid those places. Avoid hanging out with these people, because these people do something that's really unique. And this thing that these people do, they make they bring the third contributing factor. Now, this contributing factor is contrary to the first one. This is number 3, which is the desire to lose. Yes, believe it or not, the desire to lose is something that reels you in. And how is this possible? Well, it's all about, people who think about the law of attraction, and how people describe the law of attraction. You're constantly talking about how much you lose, talking about how you almost became a millionaire. You were so close. You almost did it. Yet at the same time, you're still here. You're still playing. I remember when I first got into casino gambling, I was talking with a guy. He's like, "Yeah, man, I made $1 million off this table right here, man." And he's constantly in my ear talking to me. Some old head at the time. I was in my 20s. I was thinking, like, why are you still here? And I thought to myself later on, I don't want to be that person who used to have $1 million, or who that person that had $1 million story. Who cares about having $1 million story? People. It's been proven through the course of time that everybody at some point in time, you'll get old enough to the point where you've already made $1 million. Just how much of that have you kept? How much of that have you circulated properly to grow and increase over time? Because you could have worked from 20 to 40 and generated over $1 million. 20 to 60 of your lifetime and generated over $1 million. What's $1 million anyway? Or you're still going for that big hit. Yes, it's the desire to lose. When it comes to, the lottery, and when it comes to sports betting, I've noticed it's very similar in these two fashions. But it works for all forms of gambling, right? That you say, "Oh man, I almost won." And that feeling that you say when you almost, that feeling, that passion, that emotion that's behind that is what you get addicted to. And you desire that. You kind of brag to your gambling friends. "Man, I hit this number, man. I had this number I was playing was 1 2 3 4, and it came out 1 2 3 3. I almost had the money out." And you think about all the things that you would have done, all of the things that you should have done, when the real thing that you should have done was just not play at all. Yes, recognize that we start to become, and even brag about the times that we lose so much that we do nothing but attract the times that we lose. So I had to look at it and say to myself with delete, because me, out of all of these four categories, out of sports, out of the stock market, out of the casinos and the lottery, the one thing, like addictions, or the gambling bug, so to speak, had latched onto me was in the lottery. The lottery was what got me. It's because I would constantly, it was so accessible to me. It's because that winning was great. And I would look, it was a time I was playing, I had won one year. I looked at how much I won. I won about $5,000 that year in the lottery. It's not bad, through the course of 1 year. It's just extra money a month. This is great. But then I looked at how much money I actually circulated into the lottery, or spent into the lottery, and that was ironically $5,000. It was a break even. Give or take $1 or two, it was a break even. It really wasn't that much difference. It wasn't that much off. And I said, man, I could have just did nothing. Imagine if I just circulated that money towards just a stock to invest in, not one to trade. See, it happens when we get emotionally attached. And once we get emotionally attached, it's all wrapped up in emotions. So it's all about how we manage our emotions. If you can't manage emotions, you're not going to be able to manage your money very well, unfortunately. So you got to get into the prosperity aspect of anything that you do. If you're gonna trade, then you got to trade to invest, and trade for income, and have a plan to stick to it, but not get emotionally attached to it. If you're into sports betting, I can't see any valid reason for it. But I've never won. You've seen valid. You've seen tens of thousands. You've seen hundreds of thousands. You've seen millions in doing it. But if you've seen millions in doing it, why are you still doing it? You got to know that you're going to give that million back, maybe more. Recognize being where these addiction seeds are being planted. They're planted in how easy it is for you to get to them, the accessibility. They're planted in the instant gratification, the winning. And they're planted in the desire to lose and brag about how much you've lost. Makes you feel like you've reached some sort of status. Because initially, when you start hearing about the losers, you hear these people and they talk about, you like, man, I didn't get to that level. And then all of a sudden you're at that level and you're like, oh, and you talk about with other people at that level because you feel comfortable about it. We love to feel comfortable. And if you feel comfortable about your losses, you talk about your losses. If you talk about your losses, the mind attracts that which the mind dwells upon. One thing I thought was funny, the conspiracy theories that surround gambling to all degrees, whether it be, the sports gambling or the stock market, or whether it be the lottery or the casinos. People always try to point out times where they want to say, oh, well, the system is rigged. Well, if it's rigged, I got to ask myself the question, why do I want to play? Why do I want to invest my company with a company that is scamming? Why would I want to bet on a game that I know the player is shaving points? Why would I want to bet in a casino when they are putting six shoes in, or six decks in a blackjack shoe, but they don't have six decks worth of kings and queens? And they have, the kings and queens are out of three of the six decks, and they added fours and twos to it. Like, we have actual proof of people who have sued the lottery because of rigged games. And they didn't even get into the details of how the games were rigged, but they still got into the proof of the matter, and people got paid off in this manner, and people had sued the lottery in this manner and won. Look into these stories. But if you believe that the game is rigged, and some of these situations have been rigged, some players have been found out to have been cheating in games so that they can help out other people who are gambling. Some people will shave points, some people take dimes. If the game and the system is rigged, why do you want to do it? If you know that the person you're asking money from is scamming people, why would you ask them for money? No, build your money. Build your money over time. It's been proven. That's why I have no problem with the stock market, because, when it comes to the stock market, building wealth over time, getting rich carefully, so to speak, it's definitely something that's been proven time and time again. But taking risky things out of emotional feelings, that is what gets people suckered into the gambling. I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel about everything. If you like what I have to say, hit the thumbs up button. If you dislike, make sure that you write dislike in the comments, and make sure you subscribe. And may everyone have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening.